So let's bring everything into 3D, and I need you to just consider two things before bringing the files here. The first thing is, let's go to the timeline and make sure that we are in NTC 30 frame per second. It doesn't mean anything for us now, but just to make sure that we are importing the right sequence, because when we work on a real flow, if we go here to options, we have been working on 30 frame per second. So because of that, this is the first thing to do. And the second thing is to go to units and make sure we are working on centimeters, because the original file we exported to real flow was in centimeters. Now you have options to open the file. The first one is that you can import the animation file, which you can find here. If you go to real flow, after you finish everything, if you go to the project files, in the project files, you should find animation file. This is what you need to import to your 3D application. But I kept that file for you, so you didn't need to really produce it. The idea is that even at the beginning, you don't need to open 3D and export it to RealFlow. It's already there, so you can import it directly to RealFlow. But also when you open 3D, you need to import it back to here. So what you can do is that you can import, or here from import SD, and you can go to RealFlow files. You have animation file in the class number 4. And you will see that this is the file you have to work with. We have everything, all the objects, and at the same time we have the whale jumping. But we don't have the camera. So to have the camera, you have two options also. Let's reset and do one thing. We can open a file which I attached also to the files. Its name is animation file. And in this file, you will have the camera and you will have all the things you will need. Or you can start from empty scene. I named that scene empty scene with camera. And after you finish your simulation and everything, you will have animation file which you can import here, which I also included in the RealFlow files. So you'll have the camera and your objects. But now everything is hidden because we have this one, which we don't need really, is the container, the displaced container. That's it. Now let's start importing things. But before that, a lot of these objects we don't really need. I can delete them, or I just can hide them, but I don't really need them at all. Some of them is this. Also, I don't need to see all these objects. So I will see what is this one. It's just up one. I don't need it. This is the up, and this is the down, and this is the gate or the door. All I need to do is to keep these. In addition, I have this one extra. You can just delete one of these. It doesn't matter. Both of them, we don't really need to use, just to see how everything is fit with our scene. Also, we have this thing, which is the water domain. I don't need to see it also. So the sphere, also we don't need to see it. So this is the file, and you can look at it from the camera or from top view now. Let's start importing the mesh. We can do that by having V-Ray, and we can go to V-Ray here in the creation panel, and we can create proxy. Let's put it anywhere. And from here, we can jump to the mesh we created during our work. So I can choose the mesh. Already I can't give you the mesh because the mesh is 155 gigs. You have to create it. I can just give it with the files. It's just so big. So we created the mesh. Let's deal with the problems now. Remember, I told you there will be a lot of problems related to not setting up the preferences the right way, right wave and Cinema 4D. So let's deal with the problems. The first problem is that when we imported everything here, if you notice, we can't see it right or well. We can jump to points which can see here, sorry. We can display it as the whole mesh or faces or edges or bounding box. If we will display faces, we will see it like this. But if we will go to show the whole mesh, we will see the actual mesh, which is 0 frame. And after it will import everything, we can just rotate it. Remember, we don't change anything. We just keep it as it is, but we rotate it to fit with this shape. So the first thing, I think, let's make sure that we are having the angle snap on, and let's rotate it 90, and we can read that here, 90. As you can see, all I need to do now is to do this 90 also. Then I will go here and reset everything to 0, 0, 0, so it's in its location. That's it. If I look at it from the camera now, I have everything I need, and I can scrap the animation, but it will take time just to load every mesh, which we don't want to consume our time doing that. That's the first thing we did. And just remember, when we do, make sure that we have centimeters here and centimeters here, 300 frames, and we have 30 frames per second. When we import all the particles, we will do the same. We will just rotate them to fit with the scene. Now, let's create some materials and some lights. It's not a tutorial to light and apply material or to composite thing or even to render things, but I wanted to include that so you understand things related to how to shade the particles, especially the particles, and in the way the mesh, and how to render some cool results. So the first thing, I can jump to next to preview, and let's create some lights. We can create area lights, which is expensive in render, and we can create some direct light, which is easy and it doesn't cost much. But what I found is that just a combination between the two, you can create something which doesn't really consume much time. I will jump to V-Ray lights. This is the first V-Ray, and I will convert it into just sphere. And let's create one here, which gonna be the direct light or the sunlight. We don't have sunlight in this scene, but it will be something like the direct light. Let's display the grid, and let's move it a little here. It will cast a shadow on the whale because the whale gonna be coming from here and impacting here. So that's it. And next, let's see it from this side. Let's increase it above so we can see it from here. That's good. Next, let's create area light plane. I will put it here. And let's just rotate it a little because I want to cover this area. Let's have it like this. Closer. The whale. We will change its scale later, but for now, let's put it here. And we'll create another one. I will just copy this one and I will rotate it to make sure that we are lighting this area, which is, sorry, like this. Local. And let's do this like this. That's it. Then we have to make sure they are above. A little, and this one also. Now we have, by doing this, we made sure that we are having lights all over the place. If I will jump here to high quality, I will see how the lights are working. But of course, I need to increase their values, I think, just to make sure they have enough intensity. Let's change some values. For the main light here, which is the sunlight, I can, of course, it's a sphere. Target, I don't need to define the target, but I need to define the radio. Let's put 700, which is good. I have some lights here. And for the value here, multiplier, this affects the value and this affects the value. But for the value here, I will say 500 because I want it to be a little strong. For option, I don't need it to be visible. And other than that, I don't need to change anything. For this light, which is the area light from this side, let's see what we can change here. First thing, it has dimensions, which is important because basically they define how much light it emits. So let's say 1400 as example. And in the same time, we can put, let's just choose this number. And let's put 225 like this, which I think is good. Let's reposition it a little to make sure it covers all this area. And for this one, also we need to change the dimensions. So for here, I don't need more than 900. And for here, 1000 something would be suitable. And let's just move it here to make sure that it's lighting the wheel from this side. And also what I can do is that I can hide it. Let's put this a little down. And let's hide both by going here and press invisible. Invisible. That's it. Now I can jump to the camera and put high quality to see everything. It just needs time to load everything. Of course, I can put some exposure or activate the exposure in the camera itself, which will allow me to control the intensity of the light. But we will deal with that when we start rendering. So it's just trying to load the mesh. So I need to see the colors here, the shadow. I can change few things to make sure that we have a certain color, which is the mood I want. So let's look at it from top again. For this light, I would say that I need it to be white. I don't want it to have any tint. And we can always change their colors to get some certain mood. So for this light also, I would say that I want it to be a little greenish. Something like here. At the same time, I need it to be more greenish, not blue. That's enough. And I can do the same for this one. Maybe the same color, so I can copy this one. And I can paste it here. Now, just to prevent it from doing this, I can press O in the keyboard and I will make sure that there is no jumping to boundary box. And else, we can start applying some materials because we can start render actually. For this, well, I have texture for it, and I will give it to you with the files, but now I don't have it here. So I will just put any material, and I prefer to put always V-Ray material. So I will open V-Ray, go to V-Ray. I am working with the V-Ray 3.6 because I want you to have the opportunity to work on this scene. If you have Next, you can manage, but I'm trying to go with less version so you have the opportunity to work with it no matter what. And I will change this to bucket, and I will just change this to 4 for now. Later we can increase it. Other than that, no need to change much. For the global illumination, I will activate it. Not much to change here because we are just trying to experiment things. And for the material, I will choose one V-Ray. Let's go here and find V-Ray material. This is a V-Ray material here, and we can apply some colors. Let's just do something gray or black a little. And it has some reflection, you know, because the whale is full of water now. Should be. Was let fuzz. And I'll just put here 10. That's it for the whale. And of course, I will show you how we can do full shading for this one, but it's not the purpose of our lesson. So let's proceed. For the water, which is the most important thing now, let's hide these because I don't need really to see them. So for the body of water, we want to create the typical water material. It should be V-Ray. And we can apply it. So now we have it here. If I don't want to see this color, which I will change now, I can go to actually to shading, and I will choose clay. So I see everything like that. Even if I want to shade it, that's cool. But now I can see the details. So now we have this. I will bring this into black, typically, this into white, this into white, and I will put here 1.3, 10 for here, and 10 for here. And this is basically, sorry, here, 1.3. Always make sure to have value, like even if you don't want to bring it down much, just less than 1. That's it. And to make the water just transparent, based on distance, so whenever we go deep it's just darker, we can put some values here for the fog. And let's choose something like a greenish, like the color we put for the light. And let's bring this into 0.01. Maybe we'll shift this to 1. This is it. Now let's just start rendering. Maybe I will change a few things here. Let's first define the area into HD at least, and let's put some frame, and let's reduce this to, let's say, this amount, which is small, but maybe 720. Just to speed up things, I think we just can manage with 640. We can increase it later. And I will put the save frames. Yeah, save frames here already. Actually, the final resolution will be really tight more. We will see about it later. But let's render this. And see if we will find something. Then we will tweak the material based on that. It will take a little time to just pick up things. It's reading the mesh actually. And that's it. So if you will notice that it doesn't show exactly what we need. It's transparent, and we can get better result than this. Let me cancel this. So what kind of changes we want to apply here to have this more light, to give it more light, or just to be shiny more? Let's do some changes here. The first thing is that I would say let's apply fall off here. And in this fall off, I will go here and make it gray a little. So let's say 8 by 8 by 8, which is gray. And for this, I will leave it as it is, white. Let's see here, I would say I will leave it as it is. That's good. And I will keep it black. Maybe I will change it later, but it doesn't matter because this is coloring everything. For the reflect, what I will do is that I will disconnect these from each other, and I will change the value. So I'll just go with 1, and here this 0.95, and I will activate this to give it some distance, to feel the distance inside. And I will add here 20, just 20 centimeters. Sorry, here 20 centimeters. Just go back. Then I will add fall off here also. This time I will flip the colors, and I will have this black and this white, but I will choose here Frenzel. I will go up, and I will just unlock this, put 1.33 and just water 0.3 and 1.3. That's it. And for the refract, I will leave it white now. Maybe I will change it later, but this is again the same number. And here it's color and alpha. And for this color, I would change it a little. Let's see, let's put 10 here. Maybe we'll go a little left. and just 5. Yeah, this is nice. 0.01 and 1 here, and I think that's good. We can change this to Boolean, but I think it works well for now. And we can start rendering to see the result. Let's do that. I will come back. So basically this is what we got. We have to change something. First, let's see the value of these. We have 30 and let's reduce it to 7. And let's see this one also. And we'll just reduce it really much because I don't need all the areas to be lit with the same value of lights. Now let's go to material again. And even this color doesn't matter really if I will change it, if I will just move to any color, it doesn't matter, but because we apply a map here, but this color change something. So if I will go here and if I will just try to have value like here, that will allow this area to reflect more light, to diffuse the light, not to reflect, to diffuse the light, which is refracting. Let's just render and see. As you can see now, we can see the water and everything seems really better, but let's change a few things. I will change the shading mode from this to Boolean and I will introduce some anisotropy. Yeah, and I can render again for the final time. We have the shadow, but we don't have enough reflection here, which we can manage just by from here. We can increase this so we have less diffusion. And for this also I can just make it whiter a little. Let's try this and I will come back. So this is the result, and let's just display this correctly. Let's call it water, and that's what we need to do. I think we are good. And for the setting, for the rendering setting, maybe we need to increase it so we avoid any flickering. So the idea is that I can go here and put this into, finally, when I want to render everything in a big scale, 16 at least, and make sure this is smaller, like 0.5, like this one. Can increase this into 6, but for now let's just, we can also bring this into brute force. We don't have to because light cache will work well, but this will take more time. 100% make sure that we have better quality. And also we can add denoiser here, which can enhance the result, but it will just kill some of the details here. Sometimes I don't like to use it. Always we have the choice to put it, go down, and you can choose mild, which is the smallest amount of denoiser. That's it. Passes, of course you can produce all the passes you want, including reflection, V-ray reflection and refraction, and masks. You can produce the masks you want, and actually it's a good idea to get a mask for the whale with its tongue, mask for the water itself, because we will render both of them together, and then in the composite you can just separate them to enhance their colors or change things. Other than that, you can render Z depth after defining the distance for the camera. That's it. Let's do one thing. I bring the material and I will just apply the material here for the whale. Let's just bring something from the library. I think I have it here. Yeah, the body. I'll put it there, and I will apply something for his tongue also. That's it. So let's put it on the tongue. And else, let's increase the resolution a little. I'll hide this. As it is, or what we can do is that we can start like this, but I want it to be really tight, so it's not that much. Let's say 820. That should be good. And let's choose another frame. Before we press render. That way we have the shading here ready. Of course, all these things, just because we have the edges, we can just clip the edges by introducing just matte object to clip these. But as I told you, the purpose of this thing is to have a table here. So we'll surround with something matte, and we will have the water body. Also, we can trim this using 2D and have the water body. This is the whole idea of everything. So I can just start rendering, and I will come back after the render finish.